Okay. All right, perfect. Here we go. We usually think about something that closest and I'm not need you. Yeah. We can go to. That's all the posts. Some.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the October 6th meeting of the Orono Town Council. Chair Demerit is zooming in, so in lieu of his leadership and Vice Chair Sarah Marks not being able to attend tonight, I'll be chairing the meeting, doing the best I can. Roll call shows that Councilors Powers, Kenny, Laraway, and Hardison are all here in chambers. Chair Demerit is zooming in, as I previously mentioned. Next item up is agenda review. This is just an opportunity for us to take a glance at all of the work we've put on various committees' plates, and to see where deadlines are, what work is ongoing. So feel free to take a look at that for any more information. Is there any agenda review or clarifications about items for tonight or anything on this list from any counselors? All right. Let's go to number 3 then. Approval of the minutes of September 29th, 2025. How do I say this? What's the phrasing? Do I get a motion? All right.
Second.
All right. Motion and second. Yes. All right. Any comments from counselors? Any comments from the public? About this item in particular. We will have a public comment period afterwards. Thank you. All right. All in favor? Roll call, right? Because we have Dan. Thank you very much. All right. Councilor Hardison?
Approved.
Councilor Demerit?
Approved.
I'm also in favor. Councillor Kenny
In favor.
and Councillor Powers.
In favor.
All right. It is unanimous. On number 3, in favor. All right. Item number 4 is public comment. This is a time for comments unrelated to items that will be on the agenda later on. They'll have a chance to comment on those items as they come up. So is there anybody in council chambers that would like to make public comments about something not on the agenda already? Yeah, come on up, and if you want to state your name and make sure that the green light is pressed on the podium. Thank you.
That way everybody online can hear you.
Oh, it's a large.
Is the green light on that? All right, if you press the button.
Okay. Now the green light.
There we go.
It was
Thank you
on
very
when
much.
I got here.
All right, if you want to state your name and then
I'm Carl Johnson, and this is about the changes or the improvements to Brownies Park and the boat launch. I probably launch a boat there about 230 days a year, so I'm fairly familiar with the situation. And previous to the changes, it was fairly easy to launch a boat at any water level with just getting your ankles wet. And with the changes where some rocks have been added and the shoreline's been altered, now you probably have to get wet up to your mid thighs, your hips, and at many water levels to get into your boat, which makes it a lot less accessible for most everybody, and it just make launching your boat at that point just a little more difficult, and might cause people not to want to use it sometimes. Matt Powers,
Yeah.
I had Councilman Powers came up and I showed him, and he's launched quite a few canoes, so he understands the issues, and it's not anything that you can resolve it instantly, but I just thought maybe the process could be started to look into it and have an approach to modifying it for ease of use.
And I was able to walk around with Carl, and I'll share information with you, Clint, that we looked at going into the future. So and other counselors who are interested as we go into the future.
Sorry, where is this?
This is at Brownies Park.
Brownies?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's on Bannock Road.
Okay, thank you.
anything else, councilors? Thank you very much. I'm glad that Councilor Powers is already sort of in touch with you about this, and hopefully we can find some way to move forward in a productive way. Any other public comments from people in? Yes, Mr. Griffin.
Thank you.
Is the light on? There you
The
go.
green light is on.
Thank you.
I'm Dave Griffin. I live on Bannock Road, but today I'm representing the Church of Universal Fellowship at 82 Main Street. And I had the opportunity to speak to you folks back in mid-July. And you may recall that I spoke to you about some renovations that need to be done on our steeple in the church. And we knew we had contracted a contractor, Mid-Main Restoration. They said that those restorations are going to cost about $52,000. And you may also recall that we have applied for a grant with the Maine Steeples Fund, and we received the grant approval for $26,000, or about half the cost of the whole renovations. And so we set a goal of $30,000, and at that time we asked for some consideration from the council for a $5,000 donation. And at the time it was put on hold, and was asked to come back and kind of give you guys an update on how we're doing on our fundraising. And over the weekend, we were able to exceed our $30,000 goal. We've now got $31,500 that will be more than enough to handle the restoration work. And I wanted to make sure you guys knew this, as well as we got some support from the community. Of the 31,000, we got about $2,000 from the community, from folks that are not members or affiliated with our church. We received another $1,500 from Steve Cosino's food truck over the weekend. We had a meal planned, and we were able to get $1,500 from that effort, as well as $300 from Governor's Restaurant. You may know that the Governor sponsors programs like this, and they give 10% of their proceeds. And so the night of our campaign, we got a total of $300. So we thank you. thank you for your consideration. We certainly appreciate the seriousness that you gave to our proposal, that you did thought through the process. You gave it consideration, and right now we don't need those dollars. But for a church that you can see out the window there is reaching 200 years old, there'll probably be more opportunities for more fundraising efforts. But thank you for your time and consideration. And we did one more thing that I would add, that we're hoping to get the restoration work done starting in October. But Andrew Wilcox is the owner of Mid-Maine Restoration, and he's been tied up with a project up in Eastport. And so we agreed earlier or late last week that we would hold off the work being started until we picked April 15th. That's a good date, tax day, to start the restoration, weather permitting. So it'll take about a month, but we won't be doing that until the spring. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Griffin. I know many people really value that steeple, and I know our putting it on hold was in no way an indication of its lack of importance, and more a matter of just us needing to talk about it more. So I guess we can probably take that off of our tabled items.
Amanda, does that remove it, or do we bring it off and then remove it? We'll get it taken care of. It's either going to disappear or we'll get it on the next agenda to get it off and on. Yep.
Great. Appreciate it. Whatever
Yeah.
the process should be.
Thank you so much for coming back and reporting, and congratulations on reaching your goal
Yeah.
or beating your goal.
Great news. All right, any other public comments? Any public comment from anybody online? All right. Well, then we're going to move ahead to item number 5, presentations and discussion items. We have just one of these today from Bangor Natural Gas. So we have folks.
Mitch and I,
Okay.
and I'll do a little bit of a lead in. Mitch can do some other. This came up as a potential agenda item for the council. There's a lawsuit that predates, I think, a few councilors as well as myself, regarding what was formerly Murray's garage. Yeah, Murray's Garage. Went to it when I was a student here at the university, so know it well. But the Bangor Natural Gas, which is now Unitil, had proposed a different use for the site. Mitch can maybe give you a little bit of background, but the question is where are we at in the process? What was the status? And there's a lot of legal briefs that have gone back and forth, and we received 3 in the past couple of weeks. So it felt very timely to share it. I thought about putting them in the packet, but it became very large set of attachments. So thought maybe we could share it with you, talk some more, and see if the council wanted to have. I think the only thing you could do is maybe give a request that the attorney could come and do a executive session with you on pending litigation, maybe give an update and then bring back the rest of the public. But the rest is all public information. So I thought I'd let Mitch do a little bit of the background, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the recent filings that have gone on.
So yeah, in July of 2003, Bangor Natural Gas, now Unitil, came to planning board and got planning board approval for a pressure station, I guess is what they call it, for the natural gas pipeline that goes through there. There was basically how it works with the planning board is if somebody is not happy with a planning board decision, they can appeal it, but that appeal goes to Superior Court. For abutting residents decided that was what they wanted to do and took it to Superior Court. Obviously, it's been a long time. Since that time, 2 of the residents no longer live here, which make them not have standing. So there are 2 residents left. It's going through the process right now. It has been a long one because these types of things don't really hit the priority in the court system, and there's been some backup. So, but it is in the process, and our attorney, Bangor Natural Gas's attorney, and their attorney have been working through this all along and meeting all the deadlines. So don't have more than that. That's kind of a general overview. There's been some time that we've been sitting and waiting just for the court to hear the case. So,
And I thought, and at this point, I mean, those documents are public record once they're filed with the court case. So the short of it is that the 2 remaining plaintiffs may not have standing. That's been the argument of the attorney. And the reason they brought the discussion forward, and again, the timing of this was a little bit before I'd even got here. This has been held up for over a year with no activity from the courts, with us repeatedly asking for what's going on and getting minimal updates, as is our attorneys. So this all happened fairly recently. The judges now received both of the arguments from both sides. And the point being is that the remaining candidates, the remaining plaintiffs, aren't in a legal position to be able to bring this case any further. The other side disagrees and says, yes, they do. And they're now arguing case law back and forth, whether it should proceed or shouldn't. It doesn't get at some of the questions I received as your manager to the facts of what was proposed there. The planning board did approve it. So that site plan is there. And the question is whether they did or didn't do it correctly. That's where I think you need to get into a conversation with the attorney, and you maybe wanted to have an executive session for an update. Consultation with the legal counsel on pending litigation is one of those allowed. I don't think we're in a, with the exact appeals in front that they are public records in the courts, no executive session. But if the council wanted to review our legal position, that should be an executive session, whether you wanted to give direction or change it. And I don't know if you do, because from what I understand, this is a lot of the facts as to why we are where we are. I think one of the missing pieces, or one of the things I've learned in this, is that what Mitch was sharing, the planning board made a decision. They granted the permit. Residents have disagreed. The council is not in a position to agree or disagree with that decision. The courts are. But again, the attorney works for the town. So if you want to consult with the attorney, that's your correct procedure to go forward with. As far as the actual facts, I read a lot of these briefs. There wasn't a whole lot of argument about why this was a bad decision. It's more right now all focused on who has standing to bring this forward and if the courts are going to actually even hear it. Hate to say it, but these can get very long and drawn out. And I think everybody's working their quickest, but it's just not, as Mitch said, a high priority of the courts. So I think this is one of those things is I'll follow up, get those to the council. Like I said, as public records, you can take a look at them. If a counselor wants this on a future agenda as an executive session, just let staff know. And we will work towards that with the chair and vice chair when we set up our future meetings. I think the hearing date set sometime in November for the judge to render a decision on that piece. So,
Dan, did you have something you wanted to?
Yeah, a couple things. And Paul, it's hard doing this remote because you can't see who around the table's getting ready to jump in or not. So apologies if I'm cutting in front of somebody else. But I'm a little concerned about council giving direction. I think it's very important that the planning board process be, I don't know if defended is the right term, but that we are careful about that process, and that the council isn't seen in any way undermining, politically undermining what should be a pretty straightforward process in terms of cut and dry process legally. So I'm a little concerned about that. So I guess I would just raise that in terms of before we think about scheduling something. A briefing's fine, but we do as a body need to be careful that that's an adjudicated process. We need to be careful about that. And happy to hear what others think about that. But I also wanted to ask this is the Murray filling station that was bought by Unitil, right? What is now Unitil? Is that right?
correct.
Yes.
Correct.
And does this plan have outlines what they plan to do with that property as well, that physical structure as well, or not?
So I think you're going to get at one of the questions we asked Unitil. They bought that property and then they have the rights to proceed with it as they're designed. In their purchase, all lawsuits had to be shared.
Mhm.
And I will say when we met with Unitil that they were taking over, this is one of the ones that they're looking into and reviewing and seeing what their plans are as well, because no work's occurred out there. No updates from Unitil on any change of direction. It's our understanding that they were continuing, but there was a lot of other information for them to consider. Hadn't heard anything to the contrary.
So as far as the planning board, when they brought it to the planning board, they had suggested they were going to keep the building and at that time and possibly use it for maintenance or just storage. But they weren't definitive on that either way. They hadn't planned to take it down as part of that planning board presentation.
But I thought, okay, thank you. I'll put my hand down.
Yeah. And heard Dan about the appropriateness or lack thereof, perhaps, of how we might want to go about talking about this, especially publicly, if councilors do have more specific thoughts about the direction we ought to take. I mean, the executive session is the place for that. Councilor Kenny, did you have something you wanted to share?
No, I guess I wanted to weigh in that I would agree with what Dan said. I think we'd be wading into waters that we should not be in, trying to affect or advise legal on what to do here. So I think this is in the courts and it's being handled how it should be. So I'm not anxious to get a brief or either. I think it's proceeding slowly, but that's not anyone here's fault. So appreciate the update.
Matt?
Yeah, and then my understanding, this was before Andrea was on the council, so she'd be the only person who would probably need to have some sort of brief updated. But we did give direction that we should allow the process to work out. That's my recollection. The last time this came up, we as a council said, no, this is, between, this is something that the courts need to take care of along with that neighborhood, and that we didn't have, it wasn't our place to get involved. And that was our last decision. And I feel comfortable going forward with that.
All right. Any other thoughts from council? Understanding the sort of sensitivity of some of this, is there any public comment, perhaps, on this item? No, seeing none. All right. Thank you very much, Assistant Manager Mitch Stone, and thank you, Clint, for helping out with that discussion. All right. Heading on to public hearings. Number 6, public hearing A, to consider a Class 3 and 4 malt liquor and wine license and victualer's license for Sodexo America LLC for 169 Munson Road and 6 Trunk Road, Morsefield, and Alfond Arena.
Hi there, Mitch Stone, Assistant Town Manager. Typically, this is not a role that I play, but in the absence of our code officer during this process, I kind of filled in. So I have taken the lead on this. So this is a little unique in the sense that Sodexo currently has a liquor license for catering. They currently already provide alcohol service to both the Alfond Arena and Morris Field in a catering capacity. So every time there's an event, they have a catering event and they send it to us. It gets approved and it moves on. Part of the athletic department's wishes and the universities to kind of expand that a little bit. They were looking to serve throughout both the field and the Alfond Arena, allow people to drink in their seats. They could do that under their current license and our license to do that. They did that last weekend under the catering license, but it's a little bit cumbersome for everybody, and they wanted to solidify this as a way to make this work moving forward. So they're applying for a new license. It's an auditorium license that would cover both of those things. That's what this is here. And it would be no different. Like I said, nothing has changed. It's just the fact that they would have a license that would codify this type of thing in those two areas. Worked very closely with the university. We have some representatives from the university here. But I don't know if you guys anybody wants to say anything, but appreciate them coming. Staff has reviewed everything and worked very closely with them, and by all accounts, it worked the first weekend, and see that being a positive step forward. The other thing I would just address is that there were some comments about the pilot. The license itself has nothing to do with the pilot. I think that was more how the university was approaching this, and looking at these as a pilot to look if they were going to continue to move forward with that, and not necessarily around the licensure. We don't give pilot license that way for alcohol. So.
I can hear the joke
All right. Is there any, thank you, Mitch. Is there any question or comment from the public? Anything from counselors?
No, just that staff. I didn't hear you. If you said staff is recommending, obviously.
Yes.
And I misspoke slightly. It was 6 Tunk Road, not Trunk Road. All right.
Did we hear a
well, with
little
that-
bit from the team at UMaine or Sodexo about how they're going to manage? I mean, there's a good write up in the Bangor Daily News, and it seemingly all went well. But I guess I have 2 questions. One is will this be an annual renewal license, Mitch? And two.
Yeah, so the license,
Yep.
yep, so the license is exactly like any other license. Would come back, it's here and it's in this form because it's a new license. In the future, it would, if there were no issues, would come back as a consent item with no public hearing. But it is an annual license like every other, like the catering license and everything else.
Sure. I would just love to hear kind of what the plan is to manage a little bit. 'Cause I think this is a good opportunity to share that with the community. Be the one chance we have to. hear from folks.
Sure.
Yeah, if any folks would like to come up and
So I can tell you one of the things that makes this easier for us is obviously the university has their own police department, so that's less on us. They manage that in-game stuff. But obviously it comes out, but I don't know if one of you wants to address a little bit about the in-game stuff.
yeah, any of you folks would like to come up to the podium, introduce yourselves.
Thank you. Thanks for having us today. I'm Jude Kelly. I'm the Director of Athletics for UMaine. And
I'm Dick Young, Executive Director of Auxiliary Enterprises, University of Maine, and we oversee the Sodexo Dining Program.
I think the first place to begin was just stressing on the pilot component. So what we're really essentially doing is this is the second year of a pilot program serving alcohol. We started with beer gardens at hockey last year for the first time. We expanded at football last year. And so this is an extension of that pilot program, the second year of it into the stands effectively. And so what our intent is at the end of the year, we'll assess if we want to make a recommendation to move forward with this on an annual basis or not, or if we want to scale back to the beer garden, if we don't want to do anything. So I think that's an important data point. And then just in terms of the question, and Dick can give more logistics about how everything's operating, but everything that we're doing is with health, safety, and education in mind first. Our educational component is about responsible drinking, WEID, wristbanding, tip certification in terms of serving by all accounts. And again, Dick can expand on this. Everything went very, very smoothly for football last week for the first time. And we are planning on doing it at Alfond Arena this weekend as well for ice hockey. But again, I'll let Dick expand.
Thank you, Jude. So part of the logistics of the plan is that obviously we wristband everybody when they get checked, and they're checked for their ID. All our servers are safe tip trained, so they know how to handle someone and can discontinue, or told if they are consume too much, they will be told not to drink. We had no issues last game. We did serve up in the mezzanine of the stadium. It seemed to work very well from that perspective. We have security there as well. The waterfront security is part of our team. They actually do the front entrance for us, so for all the bag checks and et cetera to go through the entrance, as well as they're at all the stations for our alcohol serving areas to keep an eye on things, and also to manage any situations that may or may not arise for the event. We staffed up for that. And the second part, as Jude mentioned, was the campus police is very much involved in it. We've had Orono police involved in those discussions as well. We set up an incident command, so we meet on a regular basis, on a monthly basis with the team here with the town. Fire department was involved in those discussions. So we talk about these events from a safety standpoint, from top to bottom, whether it's crowd management, whether it's alcohol management, whether it's having a communication network. So we set up a incident command communication network this last event. Worked out very well to keep an eye on things and making sure we had a clear communication on anything that might happen or did happen, and we didn't have anything, so that's great. We still run the tailgate operation, similar to the same operation we've always run. So currently we haven't had incidents that have risen to any type of problems from this, and hope that will continue. But so far it's been very well received. So we do offer a non-alcohol session for those who choose not to be around alcohol. And we have moved the alcohol serving away from the student section. We moved them, athletics moved them from the east side of the stadium and moved them up into the large stadium to the far side. And there's no alcohol served close to them. We're moved away from that area. So trying to take those safety precautions too, to just both making sure that people are safe, and also people that don't want to be around it have an opportunity to do that. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And we're ready to make changes and changes as need be, but so far we seem to be going in the right direction with that.
Thank you.
I'm happy to take
Any
questions.
comments, reactions, questions from rest of council?
And my understanding is that, I mean, I've been to the hockey games last year, and so the difference will be now that you can sit down with your beer. That's the big difference, which seems like it's great unless you spill it on the person in front of you. But other than that, it seems like a good idea. And then you guys will quit serving, right, at the third period, right? Right before the third period.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. Good.
I just wanted to point that out.
Same rules. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, just saying, Matt Lacombe, the general manager for Sodexo. So yes, we stopped serving at the beginning of the third quarter for football and at the end of the second intermission for hockey. That's just industry best practice to give people time to consume their drink before the end of the program.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, thank you for what sounds like a pretty thorough and responsible preparation for all of this. All right. I think we'll close public hearing A. Thank you very much for joining us.
I had a
Thank you.
question, Rob.
Oh, yes, Dan,
So,
go for
I
it,
guess
please.
As much as anything. So, how does it, so like the Kiwanians, like you have staff that are trained for this, and then you have like your Kiwanian ushers and things like that are different, right? There's not any kind of expectation that Kiwanians will be.
They're well.
So people know who to go to when they have a question or concern.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sorry, what was
The Kiwanis group is still, I believe, involved in the event.
Mhm.
But they're not involved in the part of overseeing the alcohol, although they can bring something to the attention of the waterfront staff if they need be, but they're not asked to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think I've been just thoroughly impressed. So I had that quick question, but just I also wanted to observe that I've been really impressed with the experience at UMaine athletic events across the board. Both, you know, the investments in the facilities and the experience that's being delivered by UMaine Athletics. It's noticeable to me anyways, is the kind of seemingly regular and constant improvement. So I just wanted to, it makes it a very easy vote to cast, I think, in terms of supporting your work and have an appreciation for what you bring to Orono. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Dan. And apologies for not seeing your hand raised. I'll try to keep an eye out
Okay.
there a little bit more often.
All right. I won't miss out. Don't worry.
Yeah. All right. Let's open public hearing B to consider amendments to the Town of Orono fee schedule, concealed weapons permits. Is that going to be Town Manager Clint DeShan?
Yeah, sorry. So yes, this was prepared by the town clerk. Again, and you adopt this through a hearing at the beginning of the end of the budget process. The state of Maine changed the fees for concealed weapon permits. So we're updating the fee schedule and we brought it back with a public hearing because that's how it's adopted in the first place. You know, and it's all based upon new state statute, but those are the only changes to the fee schedule.
Any questions or comments from the public? Anything from council? All right, we're going to close public hearing B and move on to acknowledgements by council members. Councilor Hardison, would you like to go first?
None tonight.
All right. Councilor Demerit? All right. I'll go and just share that, well, one, I'd like to acknowledge all community and staff members who filled out the Town Manager 360 survey. Really appreciate everybody's participation in that. And also just to remind folks about the Town Council survey evaluating us up here, which is open until October 21st. Councilor Kenny?
I just want to acknowledge the long-awaited opening of the Black Bear Brewery. It's been about a year or so, I think, and I know that the current owners have invested a lot in that facility. I wasn't around this weekend, so I didn't get a chance to go check it out, but I do want to acknowledge the effort and the investment in our town. Would love to see something like that happen in the Margaritas building too, but so I want to acknowledge that and hope that folks will come out and support the new business.
Councilor Powers?
I have nothing. Thank you.
All right. Well, I think that closes our acknowledgements. So we're going to move on to the consent agenda. So the consent agenda is moved and voted on as a single action. And anything on it can be taken off by request by other members of the public or councilors. Is there anything on the consent agenda that any councilor would like to be taken off to be voted on as a separate item? All right. Anything from the public? No? All right. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
And a second? All right, we have that. And roll call vote, Counselor Hardison,
Approved.
Counselor Demerit.
Approved.
I'm in favor. Counselor Kenny,
In favor?
Counselor Powers.
In favor.
All right, it passes unanimously. We're going to move on now to action items. We're going to go first to order 25-252, order approving a class 3 and 4 malt liquor and wine license to victualers license to Sodexo America LLC for 169 Munson Road and 6 Tunk Road, Morsefield and Alfond Arena. Can I get a motion?
Second.
All right, motion and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Counselor Hardison,
In favor.
Counselor Demerit.
In favor.
I'm in favor. Counselor Kenny,
In favor.
Counselor Powers.
Favor.
All right, passes unanimously. Let's move on to order 20. Congratulations. Moving on to order 25-253, order granting the appeal of a resident and overruling the tree board and tree warden to direct the town manager to remove a tree at 16 Gilbert Street. Can I get a motion?
It's moved.
Second.
All right, motion and second. Now I suppose would be
I'd
worth.
like to lead you in, and
Yeah.
the resident's here as well. She's asked to speak. So there's a lot of material there added to you. I had a summary from the tree warden on behalf of the tree board prepared, as well as all the attachments there too, as you click them to see from the reviews. We use Zulke Tree Service as one of their services to us for cutting our trees. They do evaluations of questionable trees that we want to have looked at. Per charter and per ordinance, I'm required in my job to follow those. We have an ordinance that states that we will have a tree board and that we'll have a tree warden. In that ordinance, there's no appeals procedure at all. So if someone doesn't like a decision of the tree board or the tree warden, it would be deemed, in my opinion, as final. That being said, we did some research and the tree board is working on an appeals process. This one's different than one we had been anticipating, but they are working on this. So when I met with the residents, and following the missions of the council and your voice matters, we've had quite a few meetings, gone out there, tried to figure out some good solutions. I knew there were some problems there. Staff had passed that on to me a little over a month ago, so I reached out to the resident just to make sure, because I knew that decision had been conveyed as final. Other requests came in. You can see the updates in the memo. We asked Zulke to go out another time to look at the tree. This is on town-owned land, and it's a interesting parcel. It's a piece of land that's between 6 and 10 feet wide, directly behind the south side of Gilbert and the north side of Page. From what I can tell in the records, it's town-owned land that was put there as a buffer for the land between the two landowners when the subdivision for Page Place was put in. There is general sentiment that there's public thought that it may be for sewer easements or drainage easements. There's no such easements on the parcel. It's town-owned land. There's no sewer lines in there. There's no water lines. There's no utilities. And it has no ditching per se. It may have water runoff, just like any land that may have a low spot or a high spot, but it does not have a designed public purpose that I would share with you as your representative for investigating the land. So with that case, it came forward. We've had the quotes. The tree board and tree warden have been using a policy in recent years. I can't give you the exact date, but I did speak to Rob Yerxa as the prior director who had dealt with some trees in this area before. And on or about 2019, they started using a practice, and their policy is to follow some guidelines regarding, and there's details in the memo, but they use a scientific methodology to rate trees. They can be low, moderate, high, or extreme risk. And the tree board has taken the approach that town trees would only be removed if they were high. That may not have been the case in the past, but it is the case of what they've been using going forward. So Jenny Robinson is here tonight and would like to speak to you. She's asked for an opportunity to come up and talk, so I want to make sure I turn it over to her. The situation here is, this is where we're at. There are a lot of ideas that I could share with you as manager, but I think the question for you is, will you or won't you overrule the decision of the tree board? I had no idea how to write this order.
Mhm.
This is a first for us. So we wrote it as to overrule them, because that's what you'd be doing. They have made a decision that is outlined in the memo there from Megan Hass. The owner has the right to cut it down. The current quote for removal is between $3,100 and $3,500. And there are 3 reviews. It has been reviewed as a moderate, and a low risk tree. But again, as the resident and I have had great conversations, and as I've shared with her, I just don't have the authority. Per ordinance, I have to do what they said. And if I overturned them, I would be violating the ordinance, and you as my bosses would probably be unhappy with me going on my own and making decisions without a rule backing that. So that's why she's here. The only thing I will say is that I'm going to be meeting with the tree warden and the tree board. I think future appeals of this nature, if they're going to be occurring, should go to the Board of Appeals. And I'm going to see what they think of that suggestion. But at that point, I'd like to turn it back over to her and her tree and what she'd like to share with you. And
So Jenny, if you'd come up to the podium and just check to make sure the green light is on, and
Hey, Rob,
oh,
before
welcome.
before we get
Yes,
started with
what's up,
that,
Dan?
we have a policy, we're very careful about naming public employees.
Yes.
We have any kind of public hearing, and the memo or the correspondence, I don't read any ill intent in it at all or anything disparaging, but the memo that was in our packet does talk about municipal employees directly, and we need to be careful about that. And that's something to consider
Yes.
future agenda items as well. And so anyway,
Yeah.
with
No,
that,
thanks for making that note. So
thanks.
really appreciate it. Yeah, if you could just refrain from mentioning any employees by name in some of the comments. Yes.
Thanks.
But yeah, take it away.
So the tree is, as Clint has, we have had many discussions. I've been in my home since 2012. The neighbor behind me has been there since 2000. And they said, which I actually learned yesterday, that the easement was first put in for some sort of pool down the way that's underground, some sort of pool, something that was going to be used that is underground. They were there when they were apparently dug it all up. Since then, when we have any sort of storm, when we have rain, when winter hits, anything other than the perfect dry summer that we've had this year happens, it is swampland. It is wet, it is mucky, it is disgusting. So in 2019, right before they changed the rules, I had a tree of a neighbor 4 feet from this tree only do the same exact thing, same type of tree. It started to lean and it went fast. They came out, the town approved to cut down the tree because it was moving towards the homes. They cut it down, everything was fine. Since then, they have made this ruling to use the risk assessment, which makes it a little more complicated. When Zulke was there, am I allowed to say the company name?
Yeah.
Okay. When Zulke was there, they explained to me the problem with the risk assessment is there's no appeal portion, which they're working on, that says this is a swampland, tree will move faster. This is a wet zone all the time, roots will not hold as well. There's no appeals. There's no like, well, what if? There's also nothing on the current list that says if this tree comes down, is it in the middle of a field and it's going to land on some lawn and cause some lawn damage? Or is this tree going to come down and fall on a home, which they did deem is correct? This tree is tall enough and big enough, it's hitting my house. We've all been there. We've all checked it out. We've all measured it. It's hitting the house for sure. And it's massive. It is leaning. It is have total erosion on one side of the tree that has completely come up ever since spring has hit, and it is moving quickly. I'm a nurse. It probably doesn't help. I have kids and they sleep in the house. So my nurse brain goes, oh my gosh, like losing sleep, all of the things. So we had talked, maybe it made sense to explain those things, explain the exceptions of the rule. I may not be in favor right now because the appeals is in process to being put on there. But they are working on it due to this situation where appeals and situations and wetlands and is it going to hit a house? You know, is there kids there? Are we going to protect Orono type of thing is being added. We don't know how long, you know, that's going to take. and it could very well be after the tree falls. So I'm just asking for an exception to the rule due to the nature that in 2020, when we didn't have this risk assessment, the tree right next to it did come down for the same reason. We have talked to all the neighbors. I gave him full permission to talk to all the neighbors around my house that this is a wetland, people that have been there longer than me. They've been there since 2000. They've been there since 19 something on the other neighbor. And I've been there since 2012. We've seen this. We watch it. We're in the backyard all the time. We pay close attention to these things. And when these trees start to move, they move and they move fast. So I'm just asking as a parent, as a mom, as a neighbor, as an Orono committee, who all of the above, that volunteers my own time. Like, I volunteer as a nurse at the school. I give back to the community as much as I can. I need your help on this. And that's why I'm here.
Thank you. Any thoughts, reactions, comments, questions from counselors? Councilor Hardison?
Can I,
go for it.
sorry.
Yeah.
So are you saying that their rating system currently, that's either low, mid, high, extreme or something, that doesn't take into account like the position of the tree and whether it hits a house?
It's the condition of the actual tree, not the surroundings that it has.
So if you look and page 13 is the most recent assessment of the attachment. It's sorry, it was a PDF for the photo. That was the way it was sent to us as it was processed to get in time. The assessment was just done a couple weeks ago. But if you look at page 13, the risk categorization.
On that JR Silver or a 16 Gilbert?
16 Gilbert. It's the last page of the 16 Gilbert attachment. So what you can see there is in these risk assessments, and I can give you a little bit of background, the town's doing these and it's been recommended and checked with the insurance company. They've been recommending that all communities have a risk assessment protocol. Absence of that, that's an area where they wish us to improve. So our insurance company was made aware. They said, as long as we're using a certified arborist to do risk assessments, they support our processes. So this one, what you're looking to is, and again, they're handwritten notes, but you'll see that there's a likelihood category and it says failure, impact, failure, and impact. So they're all ranked down. So when you look through there, the most recent assessment, as did others, has the impact of and likelihood as high risk.
So
All the others are in medium, low, or very low. And then when you go to then when you go to the consequences, he has a severe consequence in regards to the fact that it is the likelihood of a impact. But overall risk rating on the matrix is a low. So the overall tree rating this time came out low. The one before was moderate.
two of them before was
Yeah,
moderate.
two before were moderate. This one came back low. And the moderates are in there as well. You can scroll back to see those. But again, this is the one that has a high impact for what it would cause for damage if it fell.
Can answer your question, Councilor Kenny?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Councilor Artisan?
And is the tree on the town parcel that you talked about at first, or is it on their parcel?
It's on our land.
So if it goes down, it comes from town land.
The tree fell off of town land. And again, that becomes where the insurance company will be notified, and they will not give you hypothetical answers to what they will or won't do. It's strictly case by case. Main law, there are certain situations where things can or can't be the liability of the town. The insurance company said, just use a risk assessment that is an adopted program. This is what everybody in the area has been using. I'm assuming when they researched it, they adopted the same.
And then my house insurance said the only thing they can do when it happens is go after the town because it was on town land and asked to be come down. So if it hits the house, my insurance unfortunately goes after the town.
That is correct.
And it mentioned something about a cabling. Are there other trees there where they could cable it to? Is that one of the options that they've talked about on here?
I think that might be in the most recent Zulke report where they talked about cabling it, that it could do some things. I mean, there are some other factors with the tree itself, but yeah, that is one of the suggestions I think that came out in one of the reports.
I think he has to get permission from the back neighbor to cable it though. I
Yeah,
guess
that's
they,
possible. from another neighbor. They'd
You
have
like
to cable
take
it
the
to.
tree to another tree
Yeah.
or something?
But the other tree is on someone else's property.
Correct. My
Yeah.
back neighbors.
Well, yeah,
No, I get not for a discussion of this.
well, I appreciate you bringing this to us. I know that you've also shared, I think it is relevant here, that I know, I think in the spirit of goodwill, you had been told this was something that was on the town property when this was being assessed. And I know you had been told we were going to take care of it. And so I can appreciate your extra frustration about trying to understand how to navigate this process.
I know things happen. I really, really do. It was frustrating at first because when they were there with Zulke and the staff member who was there with us, it was made that we're going to be here in 2 weeks. This is on our land. This is our responsibility. It's going to come down. We're going to be there in 2 weeks. And then suddenly there was this new risk thing that staff wasn't aware of, and that suddenly curved ball everything. So of course, yes, I was frustrated because I moved a bunch of stuff in my yard and I took down my fence to move the fence out of the way, and everything Zulke asked me to do, I did it and I had it in preparation and ready. And then suddenly it was like, wait a minute. And now it's been like almost 2 months total.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And I say that not to, I say that to highlight, I think, the good intentions of staff member and really the commitment of that staff member also to, and others to try to make sure that you're getting what you need. And also as we try to figure out what our process is to make sure that people are taken care of, that we're doing the right thing by all involved. So I don't know, is there any other discussion from the rest of council about this or? All right.
Discussion amongst ourselves or?
Oh, yeah, a discussion amongst ourselves, I think, or if you have any questions for Jenny, I'm sure it's still fine.
So I guess I have a question with Clint. So we're going, the order is, where am I? Hold on, sorry. Overruling the tree board and the tree warden to direct the town manager to remove a tree. That feels like a pretty big move and a pretty big kind of precedence, I guess, when I don't know if that's all a volunteer board. I'm not sure who the tree warden is. I don't know if it's a paid position. I know Zulke must be paid, and we pay the experts to come in and they give us a, it's kind of like going against our council's recommendation, which is always a little dicey, I think. So I guess I'm interested in your thoughts there. When we put these people in place to make these, because we're not the tree people, and they come in and say it's a minor risk, and then we overrule what they say. How does that's a
Yeah,
little
look,
bit uncomfortable.
Council, every time a council votes, it's a precedent setting moment that people can bring back in future instances. In this situation, the policy per the ordinance for the tree board and the tree warden is that it's got to be worse than moderate. A moderate tree would not be removed. And again, that's where they've been working from and they will continue to work from. But if you overrule in this situation, the precedent setting moment is in her situation, we would have to follow the same decision tree. So I would work with the tree warden and the tree board and say, when you're looking at these, so the criteria I'm looking at is one, in recent years, another tree was removed in that area that per the prior public works director was never done a risk assessment because it was prior to the risk assessments. So that's the factor one that I would be taking into account with this. The other one is that I would have to look at something. I would not want to create the precedent that every low or moderate risk tree was removed because there's well over 100, if not more. And so that could force us into removing more trees than your budgets will afford, which would be a significant increase. What I would be relying upon is that this had 2 different classifications within the same year and also still has a high risk to impact and a severe risk to impact on a neighboring property owner. And it was their house, and it actually happens to be a bedroom, if I remember correctly.
Bedroom.
So those are the type of criteria as your manager I would start applying in the future precedences. But if someone comes forward and we have a low risk tree again, and those criteria are met, that the rating did say those things, and they asked us to remove it, I would be urging the tree board to do it. If they didn't, which they probably would have continued to say, no, our policy is moderate or worse than moderate, it would be appealed. Hopefully we set up the Board of Appeals. And when we present to the Board of Appeals, I would outline the precedent moment we're setting tonight to them as grounds for them to overrule the tree board. So yes, it's a precedent that any, in my opinion, as you sit here today, high-risk tree where another tree in that area was removed in the past 5 years in that exact tract of land, I would also try to argue is the only place we would be considering this. I'm going to research what she said, but I will tell you, we've gone through the deeds, every utility and every public works director that we know. There's no public purpose to that entire area. So, and there's some other ideas out of that in the future we could talk about. But again, this pool one, I'll look into that as well. But we
He
found,
called it a certain type of pool, but I couldn't understand it.
yeah, if you're referring to a vernal pool,
Yes.
there's none identified in that area.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
And later, it's 3 houses down from me, supposedly underground. He said behind the yellow house. I don't.
We'll have to do some looking, but I don't believe there's a vernal pool. But that being the case, there's the criteria that we're setting our precedents up for.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I just, was this, were you prepared to take this tree down? It sounds like the resident said that you guys were, or was that a miscommunication in that?
Again, I think I wasn't involved from the beginning.
I gotcha.
I've taken in information from both sides to what we're at and why we're here. There was communications from the beginning. I have the minutes of the tree board where they said, don't take it down. There was some transition in leadership of the Public Works Department that may have, some pieces fell through the cracks in the conversation, but I can't tell you yes or no to any certainty. I can just tell you that that occurred at the exact same time as all of this happening.
Is there any measurements of the movement that has happened with this tree or anything?
So the assessments by Zulke will continue to measure, and there is I think you can see in some of the photos that were provided, but again, as any measurable movement, no, there's no one has shown me or taken photos. I will say that she has shared it as worsened in her opinion, but Zulke had no information to go on, so he can't premise it on what he's seeing. I did have a conversation with them directly after the last assessment, because I was very concerned that it changed rating from moderate to low. And because even at moderate, it was going to be in front of you as well. And the two arborists disagreed in the impact of the root system. One thought it was a weakness. The other one thought it was a strength. And so that was why the ranking changed. Again, I'm not an arborist. I'm just going to tell you my interpretation of what they shared with me. So no one's measured that crack point where the trunks meet is getting worse or not. It's at this point, they will measure it at this situation. It's every year we'll go back. And again, Zulke's agreed. He'll check it every year. It's a tree that's got a high impact. So we will keep going back.
As far as the question about precedent, which I want to return to, I'm curious if in the I guess the hope to create an appeals process finally for the tree board, how binding the precedent that we might set here is. What kind of wiggle room is there, given that the reason that we're dealing with this question is because there is no appeals process?
I guess the bindingness that I say to you that I would put on record publicly is any other trees in that exact same land that we own as a town, not all town land, but that shared buffer that had a tree that could hit a house and the bedroom and have a high impact rating, we would be removing at owner's request. And we would have to continue doing that. In all likelihood, I think if you do approve, staff will look at this as some solutions that we could present as we go forward. This will have a high impact on the operating budget for tree removals. It's a high cost tree, and we don't usually remove trees unless they're at high risk. So this is going to be an impact to that budget. But if that budget's that budget, 1 year that could be under budget, the next year it could be over. It's just been how many trees need to be removed that given year. Like I did say though, the tree warden indicated over 100 trees that we monitor are assessed at currently moderate. So if we're not going to be removing all moderate trees at resident request, it would only be moderate or risk trees that pose a high risk to a home, particularly a bedroom right next door, and had a tree removed in the past 5 years that had an equal rating.
On that particular
On that
parcel of
particular
town
tract
land.
of
So
land.
do we know how many trees there are in that parcel that
Lot.
fit that,
A lot.
fit that definition?
Yeah, there are a lot.
Yeah.
And there's some other issues out there unrelated to trees that we're gonna have to work on as a town, because there's other impacts, like the people are going on our land and doing things to the land to improve it. And we need to, if this is going to be the case, we're gonna have to look at this as a long-term risk, because we can't have things on that may impact the tree's viability long-term. So we're gonna have to look at this a little bit more closely. But again, none of that, in my opinion, affects her request. I mean, the precedent, yes. As far as what else is going on that tract of land, no.
I think,
Any other thoughts from anybody?
Rob,
Just.
Oh, yes, go for it, Dan.
sorry. Yeah, I think
Please.
this is an interesting one, given the transition that we've had at Public Works. It's interesting, the bedroom piece is interesting, in terms of, reasons why, you want to lean into the opinions of the experts and, in terms of the risks and things like that. I do think, if this is going to be something that we're paying to get assessed every year, until, so I struggle with that. I struggle with the understanding there was a transition, understanding there was a similar tree taken down, and that, yeah, I feel comfortable that we're covered from an insurance perspective for if there's damage to the house. I don't like the idea, if it was over a garage, okay, let's, roll the dice, take our chances. If it's the over the bedroom pieces is something that I find to be a little more concerning. And I don't want in any way undermine the work that the tree board does, or, but it does feel like there's more to this in terms of, what those discussions were and what the precedent has been in the past. So I'm really conflicted about it. So.
And I want to just say that I feel the same too. Like if this was a garage or this was the middle of a field, that's one thing, but it's my kid's bedroom. That's where I'm like in the middle of the sleep and winter happens and there's a giant storm and it's, I just, yeah, it's the situation of the tree.
Thoughts from others?
The comment was made about assessing it yearly, and given the way our winters have been, and whether I respect the tree board and the experts as far as the condition of the tree, but we're looking at the high risk of life and property. And that's, I think, more important than whether or not to take, I don't know. I just think that the risk of the life and property is something that needs to be considered.
We also got to get out of the business at some point owning that land if we don't have a use for it. It's never going to be that airport that we want for Orono. It's not wide enough. So, but at some point we got to work out something with
No,
it.
it's awkward. It's very
Yeah.
awkward. Like the
And we-
neighbors and I each mow it and it's very awkward. We don't know like what to do with
Yeah.
it.
Well, we're gonna have a
I mean,
big
that's
conversation about the Sailor neighborhood coming up, and about the town-owned parcel in the middle, and then this will be part of that as well, as I understand it. So it's not, it puts staff in a horrible position because they don't. So
It seems conceivable that at the time of Page Place going in, there was the town tried to appease. Is there an easement on this between Sunset and Page, or no? Because I could see the town doing something to try to appease people on Gilbert Street and saying, we'll give you a buffer there for no reason other than a buffer. But I don't know the history.
our side of the street doesn't have any.
I
of
lived
those
on the other
complications.
side of the street.
Yeah, the odd side of the street doesn't have these odd complications between it and Sunset.
We call them fairy tale land because they're a little nicer on that side. Those Page Place people.
Can we see what a cabling option would be? Again, if that's 2,500, then we're wasting our time here. But
I think the biggest part with the tree company when they mentioned that was getting the permission of the neighbor. They have to cable the neighbor's tree and put the other tree at risk. And I'm not going to speak for my neighbor. That's a tree that his son supposedly had like there since he was little and used to climb in it, and he never ever wants to take it down, hopes it never falls. We had a big conversation yesterday about it, and he was talking about the same thing, and he's the neighbor behind me. I don't know his address, but he's Page Place directly behind me after, I don't even know if I can say neighbors' names. Is that allowed?
Yeah, I think
After the DeSistos. So one down from the DeSistos, big giant blue house. He's the one who told me he's been there since 2000 and something about the pool, something about. So they know a lot. They've been there a while, and it would be his tree. They have to cable it to.
The Nelsons.
I take the precedent concern seriously. I think I'm conflicted in a similar way to the way that Dan was describing. I feel because of all the other factors involved in this case, I feel I think I'm going to vote in favor of this. The concern about the overruling the tree board and what that looks like, what that feels like, I'm not as worried about that, if only because it's here to us because there is no other appeals process currently. It feels less like we're undermining, our valued experts and volunteers, and more like this is where this kind of appeal will land until we have that process set up, which is why I'm not as concerned about that piece. I'm open to hearing other thoughts on that. But I think, concerned as I am about the precedent this might set, I think I'm going to be voting in favor of this. But are there any other thoughts about this before we go forward? Councilor Powers?
Well, I think I'm conflicted because I worry about trees falling on my property all the time, and I totally get that. I also don't want to take down a tree that we don't necessarily need to take down, but and I think I'm leaning towards in favor of voting this myself, just because I would hate to have a huge storm come by and have one of the town's trees come down on this particular property they've taken it to our attention, and now we've gone through quite a process to try and work this out. But I'm still conflicted.
Yeah, I'm definitely conflicted. I'm leaning towards not going against the experts, and the piece that I'm looking at on page 13 about where it talks about failure for the trunk. It's improbable. It can be either improbable, possible, probable, or imminent, and both of them are clearly marked that it's improbable that that trunk is going to have a failure. I understand and appreciate the impact that if it were, but that's a little bit of, if there are hundreds of other trees in there that would meet that category, I think we are opening ourselves up quite a bit for someone comes back with a professional assessment that says it's improbable that it's going to fall. And we say, well, someone is concerned. If there are lots of trees that if they were to fall, they're going to land on houses and whatnot. So I'm really concerned about that piece of information, knowing that the town is, and Zolke is monitoring it. I wish we had some information because I don't have no perception of what this thing is doing. If it's just caved in on one side, I would think it's not.
That's where
Otherwise,
it goes back to the part about in 2020 when we had to take a tree down because it started doing the same exact thing on town land 4 feet from this tree. I was there in 2020 when the DeSistos requested it because it was on the town land. And once it started to go, within 6 months, it was going. So they came out without this risk assessment in place and they cut it down, no question, because it was moving. Because again, what the tree paper does not say is what are the surrounding conditions of the ground. It's a swampland. That middle piece of our 2 backyards is like this, and that whole middle section of that 6 to 8 feet is swamp, and that's the town's land. That's the middle piece, directly in the middle, and it goes like this. It's an ice rink in the winter. So the conditions are that the tree, what they're rating, I get that, but what they admitted they don't know because they don't live there and they don't see it daily is what type of land it is. Is it super, super wet? So the roots are more likely to move quicker. The tree is going to move quicker. Is it heavier and taller? So it's going to fall quicker. Yes, it's a massively, not so much big round tree. It's very high. It's big because it's 3 trees that have grown into one, but it's very, very like scary high. That's where the impact to the house and all the things come into play. Also, my backyard is probably all of, I'm not good at guesstimating, but it's not very large. So the tree is not super far from my house, so that the middle part of the tree that will be even heavier is going to also hit.
It's astounding how many trees in Orono, like the Schuyler Park out behind our neighborhoods, just go over root system and all, just kind of flump right over. The trunk doesn't
Quick.
fail. It just, and you can, it's amazing to look at them and see how they just went down because they got, it's all marshy and swampy back there as well, the clay. So
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Clint, on page 12, can you explain the check marks for cut and damaged roots and the soil weakness?
Yeah, so there was some photos. There is some weak soils in the area for the roots and the root collar. And he did see a damaged root. But again, he did share when he spoke to me on it that the tension roots, and I think that's the right word, hopefully. But again, yes, if you look at this column, but the side before that, those are in good conditions, the trunk roots. So again, just what was written there, going on what's said, the policy we have, it's got to be worse than moderate. I think the reason you're here is the exception is that you have a tree that is not exceeding moderate, but is of a high risk to a neighboring property, and you have the precedent of a tree cut in recent years. I would not be, again, we're giving no recommendation either where. Staff is, I'm by ordinance, I'm going to stick with what the tree board and the tree warden said. This is why it's in front of you. These are one of those tough moments where counselor, you're going to have to make it. Future, it will be an appeals board where this can be more vetted out, I think, in less structured board meeting type meetings, and it's an appeals board. They're set to meet on one topic and talk it for an hour or more. This one, you know, like I told her, we're trying to limit it to 15, 20 minutes because we do have a full council meeting tonight.
Well, I appreciate that too. I know of trying to make sure that we leave room for lots of discussion on this, if only because of potential financial aspects to this for the town. I think in the interest of time, we probably ought to take a vote.
Can I just ask, what is our tree budget removal?
I didn't look it up.
Tree removal budget, I guess is how I should say.
Oh, I
Tree
would be
removal budget.
completely guessing. Oh, tree removal budget.
$3,001.
No, if I guess and I'm wrong, you're going to hold me to it. So I want to look it up.
No, just, I mean,
No,
have
I got
no
it right
idea.
here. I got it right here. General government, public works, where are you? Public safety. Whoops, oh, there it was. I thought I had it. Facilities. There we go. Cemeteries. Hang on, almost there. Don't want fleet maintenance.
On page 12, does that say fall distance 55 feet or is it 35 feet? Anyone read that?
Landfill management for invasive species cleanup and open space, as well as tree board for tree removal, about 12,500.
Do we have other real high priority stuff that we know of or no?
That budget gets, I mean, just in the year, I mean, what was I don't have the expended last year. We did shrink it because it was slightly, one of the lines was under budget last year, shrink it. The other one, we left the same. So I would say it's coming in right around that, but they managed to the budget as much as possible.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's time. Appreciate you coming out to talk to us. I think we ought to take a vote on this. Councilor Hardison,
In favor.
Councilor Demerit,
So in favor is to take the tree down, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Councilor Laraway, myself, is in favor. Councilor Kenny?
In favor.
In favor.
All right, it's unanimous. Well, thank you
Thanks
very
for
much for
coming
coming
in.
to chat with us. I know this was a hard decision for a lot of us for many reasons. So thank you.
I wouldn't have asked if it wasn't. I totally understand. I don't want to take up tons of your time, but we thought maybe it might help to know the surrounding situations. I hope that, and I do hope the town of Orono, like I speak highly of Orono, that this is a concern. If there's houses, it's rare. We're not going to have a house where the town is here and the tree is here and the house is here. Like, this is different. I get it. And it's the town land with the tree falling on somebody else's house. That's probably not going to happen often places, but because that's just weird, right? There's this weird town piece in the backyard and the tree is going to reach the house. It's not going to be often, but I do think that for me, it's just like she had said, the likeliness, a house, a bedroom has to be more important than some risk assessment, and I do feel that way in general to anybody else. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clint.
All right, we're going to move on to Order 25-254, order setting the date of November 18th, 2025 at 3 p.m. for a town council workshop. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded.
So staff, this kind of evolved. Leadership and I have had a conversation. I'll keep it short and sweet. But last year during the budget process, one of the things the staff and I were talking about is how the presentations didn't seem as fruitful as I would have hoped. It seemed the focus was on other matters and those presentations. And so we discussed a lot about how the education of what the town is and what we're doing needs to be in a less budgetary moment where there's less stress of how we're going to do this and just learn about what the needs are of our department. So there was a good fluid conversation at the senior staff level, led to this memo being prepared by a lot of input from staff, but a lot of thanks to Shelley Crosby for pulling it together. And we're recommending that instead of doing this, that we will shrink up the budget from all those presentations, still keep the information there, but staff will not be in front of you for presentations, just Q&A. But what we will do is have a workshop on a special night in November, right around the same time as your goal setting. If you open that, you will see a full agenda. We go through there. Again, it's being proposed. It would be just like a council workshop, offsite, no decisions, no votes, just coming to consensus on matters that would come back for future votes after discussions. So, and the staff would do a presentation of their, I don't want to say strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities, but maybe the 3 major challenges and the 3 areas they're going to work on the most in the coming year. So you can learn as a council what's going on at the staff level. It rolls right into your goal setting. The goals go into my work plan, and the work plan becomes a key document when we build a budget. Kind of build some fluidity there, but that's the recommendation. In order to do this, we got to have an extra meeting. So we wanted to see if you wanted to call that extra meeting for November 18th.
All right. Any discussion from council?
I like the idea. What do you think, Dan? I'm just curious. Did you work at all with Clint on this, or is this all straight from the staff?
No, we talked about it. I love it. We have our own goal
Yeah,
setting, municipal goal, our town council goals, and it makes a ton of sense for us to, know what staff thinks are the top priorities before we, and I just think it's just really symbolic of how much good work has been done on staff, council relationships, and all those kinds of things. So I think it's awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. I'm for it.
Great. Yeah, I'll say thanks. I think this looks like it's going to be fun, and I think really like a meaningful way for everybody involved to connect and just get on the same page. All right, let's take a vote. Councilor Hardison.
In favor.
Councilor Demerit.
In favor.
I'm in favor. Councilor Kenny.
I regret that I won't be here for the fun, but I'm in favor.
Oh,
In favor.
all right,
You
that's
won't
unanimous.
be far, Leo. You're going to know your way back to the manager's office, I'm sure, in council chambers.
All right. So that one passes unanimously. Let's go to Order 25-255, order setting the date of October 27th, 2025 for a town council workshop to review the draft comprehensive plan. Can I get a motion? Any seconds?
Second.
All right, thank you. Motion and a second. Clint?
Yeah, similar situation, but Isabel's leaving as our planner. So we need to wrap this up. We looked at options and you'll see some of those in the memo. Long story short, we think this is an important enough decision. The council should do this on a night where you're not participating as just a public member at a planning board. We think this is a significant enough topic that it shouldn't be done at a council meeting on the regular 2 nights a month we meet. So it is yet again another one. This is kind of what I've been feeling coming into the fall. A lot of our stuff is coming ready to move and make decisions, and it's requiring us to make some extra meetings. So the recommendation of staff was to have a extra town council workshop on October 27th to review the finalized draft comprehensive plan. It's gone through 2 public meetings. There's been no minimal comment for changes. There's going to be a planning board public hearing on the 25th, 9th. So this would be good that you will have met just before it goes to that, and then they can wrap that up and everything will be finished up on time for our new December implementation, I guess, as you would say.
Great. Dan is a member of that committee, the comprehensive plan committee that's been working on this. Did you have anything else you wanted to share or add to that?
No, it's just the comprehensive plan. I think it's well done. A lot of process went into it, and I think it'll be a good chance for the council to get an in-depth look at it. It's a great way to learn about Orono. And I would, given how close it is to the election, I hope that the candidates for council also either watch it. We're going to Zoom it, right? So the public will be able to watch it, but people are going to be on the council after the election. It makes sense for them to know what's going on, of course, too. So.
All right. Thank you. Any other discussion? And sorry, I meant to ask for public comment on that last one too, but is there any public comment on this item? All right. Sorry, were you going to?
No, I was just going to say, I appreciate Dan bringing up that we have the election coming up right after, and that extending the notice to all of the candidates.
All right. Anything else? All right, let's take a vote. Councilor Hardison.
In favor.
Councilor Demerit.
In favor.
I'm in favor. Councilor Kenny.
In favor.
Councilor Powers.
In favor.
All right, it passes unanimously. Looking forward to the 27th. All right, moving on to council committee reports. Community Development Committee. Matt, did you have anything you wanted to share? I know we just had a meeting last week where we gave updates. So
no, not yet.
All right, great. Finance and Operations. I guess that's probably that Leo. Do you have anybody else who's on that committee with us in person, or Jacobs? All right. Well,
we are going to be meeting next Friday to continue to look at our reserves and talk about our
Friday the
bonding.
17th. Yeah.
Is that not next Friday?
Well,
Oh,
next
yeah,
Friday.
not this coming
yeah.
Friday. All right.
I don't know. I don't know how people meet.
Gotcha.
We'll look at our reserves and bonding capacity. So
Right.
did we have a meeting scheduled today and that got moved, correct?
So no, we're back on schedule. We're supposed to meet the second meeting of the month, and there'd been some first was jumping around due to holidays, so we had to move it some. I will say this is just reviewing a packet. The finance committee has been trying to get together a good packet to bring to council to go through the decision process of if we'll bond, how much we'll bond, what projects, some, none, all, what revenues can we use, etc. Yep.
great. Thank you. Nominations, Evaluations, Council Policies Committee. I'm the only one here who's on that, and I'll say there's no new updates except that we're continuing to work on the Policies and Procedures Manual. Ordinance Review Committee. I happen to be the chairperson of that. No new news from last week's update about the various things on our work plan. Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee. Councilor Powers.
No update. We're just meeting tomorrow, so we'll have an update next meeting.
Right. Comp Plan Committee. Anything else from you, Dan, on that?
Nope, we just
All right.
Yep, people look at the plan.
All right. And Council Chair update. Anything else you wanted to share? Chair Demerit.
I'm sure I see that Clint's plugging the candidate night in his report, so we'll leave it to him to plug that.
Okay.
That's on Thursday. I'm rushing back to Orono so I can attend and ask a lot of hard questions. No, I'm kidding, but I will be back for that.
Great. We'll look forward to having you back. Town Manager's Report. Clint.
Yeah, so as Chair mentioned, Candidates Night this Thursday, October 9th at 6 p.m. Hosted right here. So if anybody wants to come, I will not come. I never attend the candidates nights of the people that will end up being the council. Good luck, have fun. I look forward to working with whoever's elected. So thank you. The Wabanaki Ware Walk poster. I was going to show you guys this last time, but we had it framed. And here it is.
Great.
And it's got the front and the back of the medallions at the bottom. James Francis and I are overdue for a quick connect. Not really gonna, I don't think we're gonna hang it yet. We're gonna kind of just wait and see. Maybe we should just talk about where the best places may or may not be. Reached out to him. We'll connect sometime soon. We're just both so busy. It's hard to find the time. Usually it's after hours, but I'd like to get together and just kind of talk in here, not in here. Just thought, in our conversations and relationship building we're doing as we go through the interpretive plan, that things like this is things that will just take time to go over with them. Working on a Route 2 update for December and including the congressionally directed spending. The Finance Committee is getting more about this, but I mean, the reality, if you have not heard, the funding sources for a $30 million project to holistically do the entire corridor are less likely right now. The funding streams have been slowed. They're redirecting funds to different places. So we're adapting and focusing on the $3 million we have for the bridge out. Sebago Technics is doing that work for MDOT. It's expected to go probably not quite to Westwood, but it would fix the school corridor. And we'll keep, but again, that's currently under the right-of-way process. So they're working on that right now to determine the exact right-of-ways. I partner with my public library award. So they put in and received this award, and I had more. Did I give it to you? Where is it? I had it queued up and I changed my screens. There. Wanted to make sure I got it. I'm not gonna find it. Yep, I'm not gonna find it. I had it all queued. Oh, no, I had it all queued up to share. It's a small grant that they got. It's due to the geezers and sneakers is what I wanted to make sure, is that they put into this collaboratively. It was a great project that Lori wanted to make sure that I knew about and shared with you guys. I'll get to you more details to put it out. Like I said, I had the whole blurb that was shared with us and I hit the wrong button and I'm gonna have to go find it again. And I know you have other stuff to do. The Gov Deals update, there's a link. I just wanted to report out, consistent with all policies, Earl Labonte, our Public Works Director, has registered us with Gov Deals. We are disposing of some property there as well as other things and looking to what we can buy. We sold 2 old pieces of equipment through it. It's publicly available for people in town to use as well. They've all been, one was a New Hampshire resident, one was from Maine. They far exceeded our scrap metal estimates, which was what normally the town would have done. One sold for $1,000 and I think the other one was $1,200, and they're intending to list another one there. But all went to great uses, great opportunity that Earl brought to us. The Maine Indian Tribal State Commission Indigenous People Day event, I just keep this on here as a reminder, that's coming up in a week. I think Councilor Demerit intends to go. I am not intending. I was hoping to go, but I'm not going to be here. I'm not talk a little bit more with staff, but I think between him and I, we'll just make sure it's coordinated. But as long as the goal was to have a representative.
Well,
So
we've
the
got
police de-
anybody, I may have a conflict, a family conflict.
Oh.
Is anybody else got any availability that day? Can you,
I may.
okay. You could,
Monday?
yeah, it's
Yeah,
Monday. I
it's
think it's in the
Monday.
morning.
It's Indigenous Peoples Day. Yeah, it's I got the details in the
Yeah.
office to go over the time and
I
place.
thought I was going to be out of town, but I might be in town. So
It was what?
circle back with me, Dan.
I will. Thank you. But I'll email you both. And,
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
thanks.
So leading into 2 things. First thing, I'll show you another sign. Ask the police department, because I know there's a lot going on. So they picked up a sign for 56 Main Street. There's a lot of questions and you want us to, your voice matters and being transparent. So in the next week or so, or maybe in the day or so, we'll get these signs put up so that people know that one way or another, as we're working towards it, that's our goal.
Yeah.
So we thought it would be important to put it there so people understand that's the future home of the PD. That's what our plans are. And again, plans do move, change, adapt, but that's the goal. So we're going to get that up there. I thought it would be helpful for the community. We do get a lot of questions, you know, well, what can we do with it? Let's tell them what we intend to do with it and go from there. In that same vein, I shared out some materials to the council that will be on the October 20th agenda. Public can ask, but Benchmark Construction is who the staff went through the RFQ process and qualified as our favorite. We've negotiated an AIA construction management contract with them, as well as a full scheduling. The budgets are higher. I spent a lot of this weekend on my own just trying to research why costs are coming in, but there are increased construction costs. As you look over this, you'll have to give me direction on the 20th. Between now and the 20th, they were estimating around $50,000 worth of expenditures. And I did not want to rush that decision with you, so I've let them know I would confirm tonight that we are not going forward till the 20th, and they will just have to hold up an extra 2 weeks. It will not affect our schedule. They are authorized per my spending limit to spend up to $7,500 preparing all the materials and getting ready with what they can. In the hopes that you will prove, and again, this is what's getting us the packet and the information you had. Right now, our goal is to keep it at 3.25 million or less. We've already funded the first $500,000 of that. So it's an additional 2.75. And again, I'm comparing it to the 7,000 square foot addition that based on current pricing would be close to 7 million, or a brand new public safety building that based on current pricing could have been 20 million. So again, it's still, you know, we're looking at approximately half of that is where we're coming in at. But there are challenges with converting to a very specific use such as a police station. And that's what Benchmark has shared with us. They've done this at another site in the past 2 years, I believe it was. They completed a very similar project. It wasn't a bank becoming a police station, but I believe it was some Kiwanis. They converted a Kiwanis building into a police station. So, you know, that's was a very important factor in why we're recommending them to you. We hopefully you'll look at that and consider it at the next meeting. And
Can I just ask on that one a couple quick questions? So the 3.2 does not include the 700 that we've purchased the building for, and it doesn't touch anything on this side of the street, correct?
Except for by moving out, you gain the space. That was always the
right, but it does. It's no construction, nothing going on in there.
Yep. But again, we'll have a full agenda item on the 20th to go over more questions and look at that as a group. So look forward to hearing more from you on that. And I will stop there. I know. Oh, my last one. You do not need an executive session on economic development tonight. That has been pulled. There's no need tonight for that conversation.
All right. Yeah, we'll still have the other one. All right. Thank you, Clint. Item 12, public petitions. Not seeing anybody raring to go with one of those. So we'll move on from that. Number 13, future agenda items and councilor requests for supporting items. Is there anything else from councilors on this? All right. And then this is our final time for public comment. So anybody in the audience raring to go? Anybody online? All right. Well, then we're going to move into executive session. We will not be taking any action after this executive session. We will just be voting to adjourn. So pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056A regarding a personnel matter, can I get a motion to move us into executive session? So moved. All right. Motion and second. We'll take just a brief pause. Roll call vote. Yes, that's right. We got to vote on it. All right. Councilor Hardison. Councilor Demerit.
In favor.
I'm in favor. Councilor Kenny.
In favor.
Councilor